It's Q&A Sunday today, and of course, if you're not familiar with what this is or where this is coming from, it is a similar setup to our weekly live streams, except instead of being live, it is obviously pre-recorded, as you can see here. You can post your questions each and every week in the Discord community, which you can find a link to in the description below. It's 100% free to join in, by the way, as well. And before we get into it, we'll do a quick Bitcoin analysis, and I should also let you know that, of course, you can still get 20% off of any one of the programs or services for our beginning of year, the New Year's resolution or sale, with the code 2025 for the next day. And then the sale will be gone. Not to have another one again, ever. No, of course, we'll have one a little bit later, but it'll be a few months from now. All right, anyways, let's get into some Bitcoin action right here. I won't spend too much time on Bitcoin. I do want to make this, mostly focused on the Q&A, but, just a very, very short-term time frame look on Bitcoin. This model continues to work quite well as a general guide as to the phase of, the current, short-term move that has been going on for Bitcoin since back on over here in middle of November. So the relationship is this: Bitcoin has seen these periods where it goes from low to high over the course of 7 to 8 days, anywhere between, 10 to as much as 15%. 15% was actually the name of the game in the November to December month right here. You can see that all of these up phases were 15%, or a little bit more than 15%, I should say. And then the down phases that are in between these typically last about 3 to 4 days, let's say. And those have been traditionally bringing Bitcoin down anywhere between 10 to 15%. With this past week, putting in yet another one of these. We saw a 12.5% move to the upside, followed by about a 3-day move to the downside for 11.33% right there. So, with Bitcoin putting in the low on Thursday, or at least that's what I'd kind of be looking at with regards to the current trajectory, I would be looking for Bitcoin to kind of put in a bit of an upside phase here for the next 7 days. I guess not 7 days from now, because this one technically began late Thursday, early Friday, for me in the Eastern European time zone. So maybe that might be adjusted to wherever you're at. But that would basically give us a time between then, let's just call it Friday, to somewhere around Friday of this coming week. That actually I should have been able to do easily in my mind. It's like 7 days, it's a week, Friday to Friday. Crazy idea. So somewhere between like Thursday, Friday, we do expect the next high for this current rally to be coming in around. And like I said, all of these rallies have been at least 8.5%. This was the lightest one that we saw back here in very late December. And in many cases, or in all of the cases, above 10%. Now, I would say that for this current rally phase here that we expect to kind of occur over the most, over the most part of this coming week, I mean, if Bitcoin were to play up 10% from the current lows, that'd put Bitcoin at about 99 to 100,000 bucks. That would obviously be very, very good in my opinion. Not necessarily because Bitcoin's going to like break out to the upside on that move, but because it does imply that Bitcoin is really establishing a range here, and very likely will break out to the upside of the range. It's just that still probably comes closer to the end of this month, maybe even beginning of February. But yeah, as it stands right now, I do think it's maybe a little bit, greedy to be looking for a move like that. I do think Bitcoin could easily put in a rally towards like 97 to 98,000 bucks. That would be, just for comparison, about a 7.5% rally, let's call it, for Bitcoin. So even that would be a little bit on the lower end. So we'll see. I mean, if this bounce phase is significantly lower than that by Friday, we don't see anything really above like 97. That tells me that the bounces are getting weaker, and maybe there is a swipe lower into the mid 80s. Again, a swipe lower into the mid 80s does not, for me, mean that the bull market is over, but for you it does. No, kidding. But closing higher term timeframes below about 85,000 bucks, yeah, that's where I start to really entertain the possibility of that. Until then, I'm still going to have a generally bullish bias here, just based off of long-term trend. All right, sweet. So first things first, let's start off with, of course, the YouTube members right here. All YouTube members, or not all YouTube members, but the YouTube members for the Q&A group get prioritized here. So if you do want priority, you can join that group, which is in a link just on the channel. It's like the channel join link. It'll be pretty obvious once you figure it out. Anyways, we'll start from top to bottom. We'll start with Mr. I Sky Ski. Dyslexia gets him once again. Hello, sir. If you don't mind sharing, and if you plan to exit your spot positions this cycle, do you like to look for significant trend changes on a higher term time frame and then make the decision? Yeah, I've actually gone over this in several videos, over the years as kind of how I plan to exit, long-term positions when I believe that the market cycle is changing. And it really comes down to something as simple as the weekly trend. The weekly trend for Bitcoin has been your friend in essentially is getting all of the cycles nearly perfectly. In the sense that anytime we've seen a weekly reversal, meaning like a weekly lower low and lower high, that's been your bull market over. And whenever we've seen, a higher high and higher low, that's been your bull market beginning. And in this case, we can see that Bitcoin is not really in danger of putting in a lower low on the weekly anytime soon. I mean, the last low was, in the 60, had a 6 handle on it. So if Bitcoin were to do something like this, come down here, then put in a lower high and then come back down below that low, okay, big problems. But even just coming down and making a lower low on the weekly, that is a bit more concerning to myself. But as it stands right here, obviously Bitcoin is pretty well and far away from that right now. But as far as my actual exiting strategy, it would not necessarily to be wait for Bitcoin to create the lower low. It's to actually wait for Bitcoin to create the lower low and then bounce, because that's when you traditionally get your lower high. And that's where I'd be interested in exiting, maybe even entering into long-term shorts. So yeah, that's what I'll be looking for. That's what I'll be talking about on this channel if and when it does happen. And yeah, it'll be the same, it'll be similar over here to 2021 is actually a really good example. You see Bitcoin coming off the highs, comes down, makes a weekly lower low, then bounces up to about almost $50,000. And that was your weekly lower high before, absolutely nasty downside red dildos started to fly into the market. So yeah, it's I'm not going to get out at the actual high. I'm not going to get out, even probably within 20% of, well, maybe like 20% of the high. That's kind of where I'm aiming for. But also understand my disposition. I've been mostly involved in this market, since 2017. So it's like, I don't really, it's, I don't like whether Bitcoin's fucking 80,000 or 90,000 to me is just like, okay, crazy numbers, these are big. These are fun. And I'm playing a very, very long-term trend there. So maybe that's relevant to you. Maybe it's not. Anyways, yeah, as far as pre-planned targets, no, not for my spot holdings. For my actual trading, well, of course, but that's based off of, the automation services that I use, like the Quant Prime AI right here. Anyways, moving on, we have Mr. America. Very nice name. We're going to be visiting America very soon, actually, by the way. Hello, sir. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Been watching almost daily since 2019. Fuck yeah, man. My wife usually sits in the room while I watch you. She doesn't understand or care about crypto, but she now regularly uses terms like herp derp and green girthy dildos, and I love it. She sounds like a keeper. She sounds awesome. Fuck yeah, man. Can you review them? I love reading comments like this, like Crown's Crypto Cave, bringing families together, bringing couples closer to each other. Perhaps there will even be children consummated in this relationship. Anyways, can you review the weekly on the boring old stock ORCL? ORCL, okay? ORCL. I'm glad that you specified that it is indeed a stock. That's Oracle Corporation. And you obviously have a monthly swing high right here, but let me see exactly what you're looking for. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Weekly. All right. Got it. I do like to start off with the monthly here just because, it is a very high term time frame and gives us a good look at the long term. And, I do think that this one will inevitably be coming lower over the coming months. I do think that you'll see at least somewhere like 130, 135 region, somewhere around there, anywhere between 130 to 140-ish region, let's call it, before the next sort of bounce attempt. Let me actually just see, is there bearish divergence here? Yeah, there is bearish divergence on the monthly. So yeah, I would be having a minimum target down to the 21, but that obviously can take months here, and you're coming off of extremes on monthly BBWP as well. So this is very likely a major high for a long time. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this, and this actually goes pretty well with the prior conversation that we were looking at. But over the next couple of months, probably comes down somewhere around here, probably bounces from there as well. But be very cognizant that on that bounce, anything below 170 is going to look like a pretty nasty bull trap, and with a lower high, and well, then you can actually confirm a reversal. So, that's what I'd be concerned about, something like this, because that really does look like a major high. Something like this is kind of what I'd expect to evolve from that, like that sort of a correction. Let's call it. Weekly, I do think that you're obviously going to have bounces along the way. I'd say again somewhere between like 130 to 140. Let's just call it 135. And hey, if that bounce, does bring things back above 180, okay, bull market's still on. This thing is still within an overall uptrend, and yeah, fair enough. But if you see it bounce, and again, this is probably like 6 months into this year, something like that. If you see it bounce, okay, maybe not 6 months, but like 3-4 months into this year, if you see it bounce and then put in a lower high, that would be my signal. Hey, this thing's not just done for a while, like with like a major week, not even weekly, but monthly swing high, but it's actually entering into a long-term downtrend. But yeah, anyways, back onto it right here. We have Crypto Rect RD. He says, hello, Sir Crown. I hope you are having an awesome day. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Hope you're having an awesome day as well. Can you please check the weekly on the following? Holy moly, man. Lots of ones here. Order. All right, I will do multiple, of course, for the YouTube priority group, just because someone's paying for some, kind of makes more sense. Anyways, okay, so I see an altcoin here that is generally still living in an upside trend, which we don't see many altcoins doing that. However, you really don't want to see it much lower than like 21 cents, let's call it. Yeah. For this current pullback, which it's not obviously right now as well, but I do just want to express a little bit of concern if it does break below about 21 cents. Until then, I'd actually be looking at this area as likely to put in a higher low. You do see that there is a potential for hidden bullish divergence here on the daily RSI making lower lows than what you saw from the lows in the 31st of December and the 26th when it was trading, somewhat lower than where it currently is. So that's what I would be looking for if this one is going to continue on with the uptrend. But if you do lose 21 cents, I'd be looking at this thing as getting ready for a big downside move. But it does deserve to be respected because, well, it has an uptrend and most things do not on a daily time frame right now. You're also looking at ENA. I know this is a popular one with the Crypto Haynes crew. Let's see. I drew some larp lines on this a while ago, and I actually still think kind of the same thing as this. I do think that this one does pull back generally more from this 130 region. But just like, some of the other ones on the long term, your weekly trend is just not in jeopardy here for a while. This one could pull back to, and I'm not saying it's going to pull back exactly to here, but just for example's sake, it could pull back to like 60 cents, which is a fucking tremendous move from where it's currently at, like a 30% move. And it'd still be a weekly higher or low. So if I go over here to a daily, do I think that you get another bounce first? Yeah, probably yes. So if I redid the LARP lines for the short term, maybe another bounce up to about 106, 107-ish region. But, I wouldn't treat this one as in any sort of a position to potentially break out as long as it's below 118 and a half. I mean, I just look at this as likely to bounce into a higher low and then work its way down. Looking at momentum oscillators here, very slight amount of bearish divergence on the weekly, but yeah, it is there. Daily obviously has multiple drives of bearish divergence, already has had a very decent pullback, to be fair. I mean, this is like a 35% pullback, but to give it a chance to bounce first. And if you want to play ranges, I mean, where's your range low? Your range low for the interim is about 85.5 cents. So if you break below 85.5 cents, just understand that your risk is probably somewhere closer to 50 cents, actually. Sorry, not even 60, but 50. More long-term, I suppose. And then hype, is this hyper liquid? Because I see a lot, I see a lot about this, from people around the space, like people that I typically respect. And I'm not saying that I don't respect them for like promoting this. It's just an observation that, you know, a lot of these people seem to like this. As far as charts go, I don't like it though. You know, so maybe they have some sort of inside information on the fundamentals and whatever the fuck. Maybe, possibly, that's not my game. As far as trends go, as far as charts goes, I see the traditional sort of shitcoin parabolic blow off top. It didn't really show this left hand side over here. I guess it's probably available on like CoinMarketCap or something, and then coming down hot after that. But you know, is this one setting up for a bounce relatively soon? I think it's probably bouncing right now, actually, as I do think most things in this market are setting up for bounces. But it's going to be critical to see how high this one bounces towards. If you see it bounce above what's called 24.5, okay, you have a reversal to the upside, all good in the hood. But until then, just be cognizant that, you know, it's going to be anything below there is a lower high. So if you see a rejection, if you see a lower high is like $23 and a big pullback, you know, somewhere down to where it's at right now, I mean, that to me is a sign that this thing will go lower. But for now, I'd be anticipating a bounce first, analyze what, you know, how high that bounce gets, and then move on from there. By the way, before actually we move on to the Discord community right here, I should let you know, I broadened back the Blofin link, the Blofin cashback link, which awards you 50% cashback on all of your trades if you use the link in the description below for Blofin. By the way, so later on in this year, the link has been going pretty well, but I'm going to, assuming that we can get more people on the link, I'm going to go back to their representative and I'm gonna argue for maybe a bigger cashback, a little bit of a bigger cashback. I think that maybe we could get 20. And of course, if we do get that done, then it's going to apply to anyone who's ever had this one, or who's ever used this link to begin with. So yeah, just kind of giving you an idea of what I'm thinking long term, because, well, obviously I want I want bigger cash. I mean, 20% is pretty fucking good. That's basically a 20% fee reduction on all fees. I'll take that. Anyways, we have our January 4th Q&A right here. I've already posted the new one over here, and it's already filling up a little bit. But we'll go to this week's one. So we have No Mud, No Lotus. He says, hey, bud, hope you and Elsa had a nice holiday season. Thanks, man. I've watched daily for a few years now. Really dig your way of looking at the markets. I learned so much from your content. It's helped me to become a solid trader. That's fucking sweet, man. Can you check out Solana, Ethereum, weekly and daily, if you don't mind? Why do you like the 5-day time frame for general higher term time frame analysis? I like the 5-day time frame because one, it's a fib number 5, you know, 5 is a fib. And it just seems to get it seems to get better signals than a weekly, for example. And my sort of intuitive thinking on this is that the reason that I would think that is because now that you have Bitcoin traded in, you know, most traditional venues, so you have an ETF, you have futures, you have these sort of things, you kind of get more of like a traditional, well, time schedule as well, when they don't trade 24/7. So weekly, I find, actually doesn't usually do as well as a 5-day in terms of analysis and like producing better signals. I think the 5-day represents the real trading week a little bit better. That would just be my sort of theory on that. Anyways, back to your actual question. Solana ETH, yeah, okay. We looked at this one very briefly yesterday. But we can look at it again today. You know, again, long-term reversed. I think that much is quite clear, or it is going to be a monthly reversal. Of course, I am front running this. I mean, you don't have lower lows, you don't have lower highs at all yet on the monthly. But just looking at it and a bit of intuition here, which obviously I can be very much wrong on. You know, this to me looks like a great place for this one to top out and come down significantly. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing come down to like 0.33. So yeah, as far as the weekly goes, you know, just like a lot of the other things, I do think that you're going to base off, or I already have the LARP line basically. I do think you're going to base off this current area a little bit more at around 0.05, probably put in a bounce, but any sort of bounce that fails to get back above, let's call it this high right here, 7 cents, or not 7 cents, but 0.07, whatever the fuck the denominating currency butyrols is, whatever the, you know, I don't actually know how to say it, but if you see a lower high below this, on this upcoming bounce, which you're probably going to see happen over the next, for this thing, maybe this takes like 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know. But if you see any sort of a rejection below this region right here, I mean, that to me is going to be a setup for this one to actually reverse, and that's going to spill on over into the monthly. And, you know, at some point you probably see it closer to these lows here, which is significantly further down. So that's what I'd be cognizant of. Hey, if it reclaims this region right here, then I guess I'd be bullish. I mean, I would be bullish. It's just, I think that that's less likely. So yeah. All right. Sweet. Moving on, we have Mr. Rectops. He says, GM, hope I formulate this question correctly. All right. If you get an entry and then price goes lower, do you then adjust your TP lower? Okay. So let me just reformulate it and that'll give what my answer would be. So the way that I understand your question is that you enter into a trade at $100, price goes down to $99. But before you entered the trade, you were originally targeting $101, but now that it went down to 99, I should adjust my upside target lower. No, I don't do that. And the reason why I don't do that is because all of my strategies are predefined. Again, when I use tools like this, which is the only tool that I use for, trading at this point, the Quant Prime AI is the whole point is to set up these strategies so that all of my take profits are essentially coded in there. So it actually doesn't change my take profit's not going to change based off of my entry, it's not going to be based off of price going lower than my entry. Maybe I get taken out of the trade. I mean, who knows what, if that hits my risk management criteria. But yeah, I don't think like that, because things need to, at least in the way that I look at things when it comes to trading, everything needs to be predefined well in advance before I ever take a fucking trade, because I know that if I use a discretionary style, there's going to be some moment in time where something crazy happens on the chart. Maybe this happens like very fucking infrequently, but it can happen. It's a non-zero probability, and then I freak out, I freeze in the moment, and I don't make the right decision. So that's why for me, everything needs to be predefined, and I can just have a bot play it out. So yeah, all of that stuff needs to be essentially objectively defined, and then so that it can be coded in. And yeah, none of my strategies will adjust the take profit lower, because my take profit is usually based off of looking for some other indicator to fire off a very specific signal. So that, it is dependent on price, but it's not the actual price. So that can change. It will be included in that usually. Anyways, Mr. CLE says, hello, Crown. Thanks for all you do, man. I'm just making YouTube videos on the internets. I would like to ask your opinion on the below. I'm running 2 strategies, one on Bitcoin, one on SUI. I need to get rid of my fucking mustache. It's making me itch my nose all the time. It's really annoying. One on Bitcoin and one on SUI with the skeleton key. Nice. And I would like to compare them. However, the backtesting period cannot be the same, as SUI has much less history. In this case, in order to compare the strategies, would you rather take the max backtesting period for both strategies, even though they are different, or a uniform backtesting period? So let's just put this into perspective, because Bitcoin has essentially 15 years of history, something like that. It started in like 2009, 2010. So let's just say 15. Whoops, let me get that damn thing off. And then SUI it's been around since May of 2023. So it has, let's call it 2 years of history. Obviously, you can't compare these two things, because also when something first lists, if you test your strategy on these first, even like the first year, honestly, but this area right here, like, these are really extreme times, because the project is so new, the market cap is so low relative to where it's going, and moves are just different. For example, with Bitcoin, like you were getting thousands of percent moves back here, you know, I mean, sorry, not even thousands, but like tens of thousands, 65,000% in that first year. And it's like, are you ever going to do that again? Are you ever going to see that again? It's like, no. So I actually omit for Bitcoin, I typically omit until about 2015 because I want like the more modern era of Bitcoin. And I don't want my results to be massively influenced by the early days, which I don't think those are not going to be repeating. So would I compare I guess the last 2 years of Bitcoin to the last 2 years of Sui? I guess that would be the most appropriate comparison. But again, the problem with that, from my lens of view, is that you're testing Sui on like a very, very low amount. Whoops, I'm not on Sui right here, but let me go back to Sui. You're testing Sui on like a very low amount of data available. That's why, again, I generally just prefer to only trade Bitcoin and to maybe a lesser extent Ethereum because, it's just got the most history. So you can get like the most rigorous data with that. With this, you can't. You can't, unfortunately. And I have a harder time trusting that data too, just because it's a little bit newer. But yeah, if anything, I'd probably just compare like the last year. But of course, Sui is going to potentially have more gains in any strategy because it has more potential to move, being that it is just a lower market cap, both the upside and the downside. Anyways, Hamia says, Hackround, who are your favorite other crypto people you like to follow either on X or YouTube? Cheers. In terms of content, I don't really follow anyone else. Again, not because I think like I'm the fucking best and no one else can ever like compare or anything like that. It's just because I want my content to be fresh. I want my ideas to not be influenced by any sort of external inputs. And I don't care what other people are looking at. But as far as my other crypto friends, I guess, who are creators, obviously the Pizzino brothers, I met them I met Jesse multiple times. I actually met Michael for the first time this past month or two, and they're both just fucking phenomenal people. Really, really love them. I know K-Dub from Crypto Zombie, Elliot from Elio Trades. These guys are fucking super solid. I know MM Crypto. He's always been he's been super nice to me over the years, and really, really good guy, and great to hang out with in person. But as far as like people that I follow on X or YouTube for content, I'm not really interested in looking at their content. I mean, again, not because I think that they're bad or anything like that. I think that a lot of them are very good, in fact, and have actually proven themselves over the years. But it's just, I'm sure that they don't watch my content neither. It's like you don't. Actually, I do know that a lot of other creators do watch my content because I have been told some certain things. But anyways, I'll get off the topic. My point is that I'm not the best person to ask because I don't really watch like other people's content for their content. You know what I mean? Anyways, Manticore says, hey, Crown, shameless plug for your TA course. I'm looking at automating my tradings, but where I live, no KYC exchanges are a problem and trading perps is not permitted. Does a Crown Prime service allow you to trade spot only on something like Binance? Let's actually try this. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to I can show you exactly what exchanges that they allow for, but I want to ask my bot this. I want to ask my bot this to see if it gets the right answer, because that would be cool. And I happen to know about the right answer anyway, so I should be able to figure out if this is correct or not. So let me bring it in here. This is going to be very embarrassing if this is wrong, but gives me an opportunity to improve. Mr. Bot here. Hey, I'm looking at using Alertatron to automate my trades. What sort of spot exchanges do they offer as compatible, I guess? Let me just make sure that I'm actually even reading your own question properly first. Yes. Okay. So you're looking at Binance. I mean, I know the answer is yes, but is Binance compatible? And let's see. Yes, Alertatron does support Binance as one of its compatible exchanges for automating trades. Good job, bot. I was actually talking to her like, you're really good at this. It's so much fun, man. I love playing with it. I love playing with my own self. My own bot is what I mean. Anyways, yeah. Binance can work. You can trade spot, you can trade futures, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can also, of course, check. I believe there's a link to this, or it's just straight up shown on the Quant Prime service promo page. But if you go over here, you can see the exchange integrations that they have. They actually support decentralized exchanges as well. I don't know if that makes a difference for you. I don't know if that's even relevant to you to begin with, because obviously DEXs come with their own list of issues. But in terms of regular exchanges, yeah, pretty much hosts all of the major ones: Binance, Bing, BitGet, BitMEX, BitMEX is still on there, Bluffin, Bybit, all of these ones are available there. And yeah, you can trade spot, you can trade futures. It's not a problem. All right, let's see. Hey Crown, Sui Weekly, thanks for your time. Sure, yeah. All right. Where's my Sui? Where's my chop Sui? Actually, where the fuck is it? Am I blind or something? Yes, because it's right there. All right, so Sui, is obviously showing relative strength compared to most things. It's showing strength compared to most things because it's trading pretty much around the highs, whereas most things are kind of coming down, 20, 30, 40%, especially if they're an altcoin. For Sui right here, I do think that if you're going to be trading this thing, if you're going to be looking at just a long-term analysis, which actually you don't specify, you do specify weekly. Okay, so weekly, you're playing trend here basically, and your trend is still to the upside as long as you're above last week's low, which is 390. So, I can give you some reasons why I think that this one probably does pull back from here, and the trend is going to stop for a little bit, and that would be because the weekly RSI is showing potential for bearish divergence. And if it does pull back, I'd be looking somewhere around like 3.25, maybe as low as 290 if things get really crazy. But to me, this, if it did pull back down around there, that'd be a massive opportunity. Now, like I said, the weekly still is in an uptrend. So until this actually confirms a local high, that potential for weekly bearish divergence will not be confirmed as well. How would you confirm it? Well, you could easily come down below last week's low, and that'd be very, very obvious. But even this week's low, I'd say, would be good enough for me. If Sui did come back down below about 439 this following week, to me, that's going to be confirmed as a local high. Thus, bearish divergence is confirmed, and this thing goes into a consolidationary period. Until then, you do have the potential for a continuation move here. It's entering into a daily range, right? Your top side is 5.25. Your bottom side is basically this past week's low, or I think it was this past week. Yeah, I think indeed it was at like 445, 450-ish region. Anything between there is just a consolidation, and technically should resolve in an upside based off of the trend. But again, all trends come to an end after a long enough period of time, and I see now on the daily there's many drives of bearish divergence. So I'm probably being a little bit too conservative here and waiting for this thing to come down below this week's low. But I personally think that you will see this one pull back from this region more. Anyways. Myth Reindeer says, good day, sir. How's it going? A simple charting question today. What are your thoughts on KMNO USDT? Daily. KMNO USDT. All right. Guess we go to Bybit as you requested. Topped. Topped for a long time, sir. Is there a bounce coming up relatively soon? I don't think this one's actually done going down in the short term yet, but relatively soon. Maybe the bounce comes around 8.5 cents, maybe it comes around 9.5 cents, somewhere in there. Kind of would make sense to me, but that bounce I think is just going to roll over. This one, God, when I look at all these altcoins, I start to get really fucking bearish. That's a problem with these streams, but that's also a sign. It's actually very, very useful, at least to myself. But, just kind of put it in terms of LARP lines. It comes a little bit lower, tries for a bounce the weeks following after that. Any sort of a bounce that fails to get back above 19.5 cents, I'd be looking at that as an indication that this thing is, it's not just done for a while, like it's done. You're probably going to see this thing come down to like 5 cents, 4 cents, something like that, if that were to happen. But yeah, looking at it right here, weekly RSI, head and shoulders. To me, this thing is I mean, I personally think that is done for a long time. But you're going to get a bounce relatively soon. Just that bounce is a perfect time to put in a lower high. Is the head and shoulders pattern of death and decay, or may we see a bounce? I do think that you will see a bounce. Just probably going to be that. Yeah, fair enough. K3 says, GM Crown, I appreciate the weekly Q&A. Awesome, man. What's your analysis on Solana daily and weekly? Okay, Solana. Soul. Where's my soul? Where is my soul? I have no soul, of course. Looking at it right here, similar to Bitcoin, entering into a trading range, on your somewhat higher time frames. I do think Solana's weaker than Bitcoin. And I do think that it is going to have actually a short-term downside move here, probably retesting somewhere around 175, maybe even as low as 160 region. But, does it set up for another bounce there? Probably yes. Just I have the same sort of issues on Solana that I do have on even like the chart before. It's on another bounce. I mean, it's got to get back above 222. This past week's high. Was it this past week? It was this past week. Holy shit. This past week's high. Otherwise, it's just another lower high. And the trend has been down since, November. So would that be the impetus for like a real breakdown attempt? And you see this thing at like 130, 140? It's possible, yeah. But, as always, when it comes to cryptos, like they can do crazy things. You will have some bullish divergence here on the next sort of move to the downside. So, it should bounce decently from this 175 region or, somewhere around there. But decently and 222 are two very different things. So I really want to see it get back above 222. Weekly, when I look at something like this, I think it's going to continue to range for another few weeks, honestly. Yeah. So, maybe it bounces, maybe it comes back down to the range lows, maybe it bounces again. Probably something like that. I think at best, this is entering into kind of a boring period. The thing that I think is least likely to happen from here is that you see literally a green dildo this next week that brings it all the way back up towards like 250 plus, or even above 222 for that matter. That is what I think is least likely to happen right here. So yeah, I think you're strapping in for more of a long time, man. Marutopia says, sorry if this question sounds stupid. We shall see, sir. And we shall see if that apology is also sufficient as well. Kidding, man. What's the logic behind choosing certain moving averages, look back length numbers such as 10 simple moving average, 21, 50? A lot of the ones that you listed, I don't use. I do use the 21 EMA. I do use the 55 EMA, which you did list there. And I don't really use the 200 EMA any longer, but the 21 and 55 is a very easy answer. It's just they're Fibonacci numbers. I do think that there are magic numbers. I actually do think that there are magic numbers when it comes to trading, just numbers that you see pop up a lot, but I've never really like fully formulated these ideas, and I'd probably just sound like a fucking total kook if I started to try to talk about them right now. But, Fibonacci numbers, I think those ones generally work as like good areas to start with. Putting in periods on any indicator, whether it be a moving average or like an RSI, you can try these sort of things. But yeah, seven is an important number as well, by the way. 33 is not a fib actually. So no, it's not. 34 is a fib, however. But yeah. Anyways, BT Storm says, good morning, sir. It's been a while since I saw you looking at the Gaussian channel for Bitcoin. In your opinion, is this indicator of any use during this phase of the market, or would it make more sense to use it around an expected cycle top? The reason why I haven't really been using it is because I have enough indicators I'm fucking showing on my charts anyways, and I think it's just less important. But I can bring it up. I'm curious to actually see what it's looking like right now. Let's go to a daily. Let's go to Bitcoin perhaps as well. Let's get rid of my moving averages. This is generally useful information here. you're bouncing off the median. I think that this rally could potentially get to the top side of the Gaussian channel, but I do think that would be kind of like a, what's it called? Like a boundary, just like we went over with Solana, I do think Bitcoin can bounce here, but I don't think it's going to do something like this. I think it's going to bounce up, maybe even as much as 100,000, come back down, and then probably get another bounce off of like this 94, 95-ish region. Same shit. Continue sideways. And I think that's kind of the bullish view, is that, just hold sideways and you get one of those situations where, well, we didn't go down, so I guess we go up. And fair enough. I mean, that does tend to happen during bull markets. Yep. All right. Texas SIGAP 13. Fuck yeah, I got it right this time. Buenos dias from Boca Raton. Yeah, we're actually gonna be visiting Florida very, very soon, man. Boca looks pretty cool, actually. So that's quite a nice area. And actually even know someone who lives there too. He's a super cool guy. Anyways, in the event that these questions are so insightful and far ahead of the curve that it wrinkles brains, melts faces, and makes people see the face of God while questioning the meaning of life, I will not apologize. I like it. Would you be opposed to checking SUI against Bitcoin? Sure, I guess. I haven't really looked at this one. Let's go over here. Let me get off of this one. Let me put back all my usual tools. I can already sense in my plums right now that this one's putting in major drives of bearish divergence, and indeed it is. Coming off of all of these highs essentially. What about the weekly? It has potential for bearish divergence, but it is not confirmed a local high just yet. I would say, look, you again, similar to just SUI versus the US dollar, very, 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 very simple here. As long as you're above this week's low, okay, just run with the trend. It hasn't ended just yet, so you can always bet on trend continuation, and you're going to be right more often than not. But the second that it comes down below this week's low, now you have drives of bearish divergence confirmed on your weekly, on your daily, and you're probably looking at a big pullback somewhere down around your November. Okay, somewhere around here, like not whatever the fuck this number is, 3,300 Satoshis, somewhere around there. And I generally think that will pull back to there. But, again, trend first. If you get the confirmation of that, then, that's very likely where it's headed in the following weeks. Excuse me. All right. We have... well, bonus if time permits. Unfortunately, probably not today. We're already 41 minutes into this thing, and I am not even halfway through the Discord comments. VC says, hey, Crown, SPX 6900, daily, weekly, okay? SPX 69X. Extreme volatility right here. You don't have enough history to really even populate bearish divergence on a daily. It's not much to be speaking about this. Weekly, this is the area that you should be expecting to bounce if it is going to be bullish. So what I would really be saying about this one is, hey, it can afford to come back down. Let's call it like close to $1, but you don't want to see any higher term time frame closures below there. If you do that, bad. But until then, this is actually pretty much the exact place on a low that you'd be expecting to find a low if it is going to have another try to the upside. So you can treat it bullish or I can treat it bullish as long as it's above about $1. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But the second that it starts to really close, higher term timeframes like daily below $1 or, even a little bit below $1, is the time where I'd say this thing's done for a long time. But, trend first, as always, trend first. All right. Salute Your Put says, before you look at my favorite shitcoin for free, can you answer one question? Why are you gay? Listen, sir. How do you not know that I'm a bisexual lesbian trapped in a man's body from Mars, living in an underground cave on a golf course in Venus? It doesn't even make sense. Moving on, we have Weird Beard. Hey, Crown, thanks for all the content you put out. When you're learning to trade, did you have any ha-ha moments where some concepts became clear? Yeah, many times over. I had moments like this, but I actually remember the first time that I had a really big one. So you have to understand, I started in equity options, which I didn't really even have a background in just general trading or regular trading before that. So it's really fucking complicated to get started with. But I remember the aha moment where I realized the relationship between calls, puts, and the underlying stock, and how the reversal and conversion can always be like related to each other. Like that whole equation, like that came together in my head. And it's like, okay, I can now like visualize it without having to, draw it out and do maths. That was a big one for me. Other than that, I've had several over the years. I just remember that one as like my literal first one. But several over the years, probably the most important one, which is probably what you're looking for, is not going to be the options one. That's going to be relatable to very few people. But, what I would say the most important one is that trend is king. Trend is king. Trend is the most important thing. It's not the only thing, but it's the most important thing. And it's the most important thing by a good margin. Anyways, Tom BJ 618 says, "Hey mate, happy new year and congrats on 200,000. Thanks, man. I was here back in 2018. Holy shit, man. Yeah, it's really fucking awesome to see, man. Appreciate that and appreciate the support as well. Can you expand on why you think Solana Ethereum is reversing rather than just putting in a higher low?" Yeah, I am going ahead of myself there. I think we spoke about it earlier though, so maybe I don't need to go into too much more detail as to what I'm looking for. But yeah, you are correct. It is not reversed yet. So I can be massively fucking wrong on this. But when I look at things, especially when I see a monthly shooting star dildo like this, I mean, monthly, like, I don't think candlestick formations actually matter that much on lower timeframes, but on very high timeframes, I think that they do, or at least I see that they do quite often. And that is a traditional reversal of formation. And the next thing you're going to say is, well, Crown Bitcoin has the same thing. I'm like, yeah, that concerns me. But we haven't seen follow through below the low of that reversal dildo just yet, whereas Solana Ethereum has, and it is below there right now, actually. So yeah. Mr. Barash says, "Hello, sir. Are you going to go for the world record of most consecutive YouTube videos uploaded?" I don't know. Like, I can't stop not because like I have any sort of like crazy work ethic or anything like that. It's because of OCD, man. Like I feel bad. I feel like I haven't done anything if I don't do that, which doesn't make any sense, because in terms of like revenue generating activities, YouTube videos are very low. They're not nothing, but they are quite low. But I like having the routine. I like having the repetition, and it's fun. It is fun. Anyways, Solana USDT on the monthly, got someone in Discord saying that the monthly RSI divergence is super bearish, and Solana is going to negative $26. Okay, so they're going to pay me. Well, I'll get a good laugh. Don't worry. So do I think that Solana is going there? Probably not. I mean, even on the monthly here, it's not concerning on the very, very long term, as long as you're above last month's low, or especially as long as you're above the red 5. I mean, it's still technically in an upside posturing phase. Calling for, I mean, I could easily look, if the market topped out here, I could easily see Solana coming back down to like $80, maybe even $50. But I don't think you're going to see it below $50 in like even the worst case scenario. Well, I shouldn't say worst case scenarios, because weird shit can happen, but just for argument's sake, coming down to $50 is an 82% pullback. It's a fucking crash. So if that were to happen, I mean, that's enough. That's enough. Anyways, we have Nuke the Black Cubes next. He says, "Hi Crown, I believe you said in a recent video that fib levels play a role in your analysis, but not your trading, because you don't have an actionable method of incorporating them into trading." It's not because I don't have an actionable method of incorporating them into trading. I don't have an automated way of incorporating them into trading, because there is a degree of ambiguity when it comes to fibs. Like, where do you anchor it? Where do you start? Where do you do this? Where do you do that? Are you aware of Harmonics by Scott Carney? Kind of, but not really. I know harmonics, but not that well. And I've heard the name Scott Carney before, but I don't know him. This is basically the theory that if a chart completes a certain sequence of fib levels, it is more likely to also complete a certain sequence of fib levels in the future. I mean, I generally have a similar idea to that as well. But yeah, I mean, try coding that into a strategy. It's just, you can't do it, because again, it's going to be highly subjective as to like where you start those things. That's kind of my issue with that, and harmonics and just patterns in general. Anyways, Omando says, hello, Sir Crown. Which alts have stood out to you on their Bitcoin parents to be making all-time highs? I couldn't tell you because I don't really spend like my personal time looking at them too much. And, you know, when I look at alts, it's usually during these live streams or pre-recorded streams. And so whatever I'm talking about on stream that I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of surprising. Like that's it basically, but I don't really keep too much of a note of them generally. But anyways, you're asking like what's an example of a good one? I think we saw earlier like SUI BTC. Look, if it has an uptrend, good. If it doesn't have an uptrend, bad. But like I said, this one probably setting up for a pullback here. But uptrend, good. Downtrend, bad. I mean, if you want to be long the fucking alt, right? Anyways. Volpes says, good day, sir. Do you consider SUI Bitcoin, just like read my mind, to have confirmed a breakout from its previous all-time high? Well, it has obviously broken out from its previous all-time high. If you're talking about this area here from June of 2023, I mean, that would be the prior all-time high. So yeah, certainly it's broken out above there, and can easily afford a pullback back down to like, I think it was like $3 or so, and that'd still be above that last prior high. But that is a big percentage move, of course. Anyways, do you have a measured target? No, I don't have a measured target on that. I do not. And I probably wouldn't. Yeah. And I think we've already spoken about top/reversal signals. I think that one probably is setting up for a pullback, to be honest. But again, trend first, but that trend is very, very close to reversing as of current. Bitcoin Buddy says, good day, Sir Crown. Can we look at ASI on NGX, Nigerian index? Okay. I have to say, this is the first time I've ever looked at Nigerian index. Is this Nigerian? Yeah, it is. Holy shit. All right. Actually really fucking good. I don't know what this thing is or what it does, but I like the chart. It's actually like a better version of the SUI chart, you know, this accumulation phase over here and then big move up. It looks like it's actually getting ready for continuation this month, maybe next month, but yeah, another try to the upside, not bearish at all as long as you're above August slow. If you take out August slow, okay. Pullback, but even then not bearish because he's still got this massive monthly uptrend. Nice. Godly Hands says, hey Crown, you're a beast. I am quite hairy. Can you check out RSN Resonator on Ethereum? On Ethereum? Okay. I don't fucking know. Resonator. Okay. Resonator. Let's see if it's on TradingView. It is on TradingView. Okay. I think you're seeing a massive fucking top here, sir. Just like a lot of the other ones, I think that you are setting up for a bounce like quite soon. Maybe it comes a little bit lower towards this region here, but I do think that you're going to get a bounce off this region. But the problem is, just like most of these things, is that on this bounce, do you get a lower high below whatever the hell this number is? If you do, it's a fucking problem because at least you're going to come back down and retest these lows over here, maybe even make new lows and do like the full reversal for a very, 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 very long time, sir. Yeah. Let me take a sip of this. We are already 52 minutes into this bitch. Yeah, okay. Godly Hands. No, we literally just said that. Treebeard. Mr. Treebeard says, I like all these Lord of the Rings names, by the way. Hey, Crown, what was your best trading day in your career and any reason why not looking at open interest like last cycle? I mean, if I looked at every little technical indicator that I know, these videos would be 2 hours long, and they used to be 2 hours long. But it's just, it's not necessary. Open interest, yeah, it can be useful, sure. I traditionally care a lot more about it on options than I would on spot price action or even futures for that matter. But I guess it's only on futures. Yeah, it's just there's too many things to be looking at, and that's like low on the priority list for, you know, objective signals, let's say. Yeah, best trading day in my career. Probably the day that I felt best was very early on in my career, where I first made like a decent amount of money in one day. That was fucking awesome. But, you know, looking back on it, if that happened now, like that would be it would be nothing. It'd be nothing. You know, as it should be. But best day in my trading career, you know, yeah, it'd probably be that. Even though it was relatively small, the actual gain, like the literal nominal gain in US dollar terms, it's like relatively small compared to what's capable now. Anyways, Michael Johnson says Tau on Mexi. All right. I can see you're drinking the Kool-Aid based off your name. So let's see if the Kool-Aid is healthy or not. And for this one, it's certainly not the most interesting Kool-Aid of all time. But like most things, you know, you're entering into a trading range right here. You got your highs at 585. You got your lows. Basically, I guess your December lows, which would be about $400. You know, should treat it as okay as long as it remains between these boundaries. But like we've seen on a lot of these things, a lot of them are kind of in limbo here. So while I do think that you're going to bounce off of this region again, maybe you swipe a little bit lower first before an attempt at a bounce, but you know, somewhere there very likely sets up for a bounce. But as long as you're trading between these two ranges, I don't think that there's anything super interesting going on here. And if I am just looking at this chart, yes, I do think that it is more likely to break down than it is to break out. It's not strong on its own, so it's going to need a strong broad market in order to do anything of significance in the future. And just nothing to be excited about this thing as long as you're below 585. Above 585, okay, yeah, fine. Run it to new highs, blah, 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 blah. Great. But until then, I'd treat this one with skepticism. But yeah, I do think you're going to bounce off this region again. It's just, it's lower highs as long as you're below 585. That's a problem. Can actually put in a real breakdown if that holds. Guillermo, I think I'm saying that right. Hey, Crown, been lurking since 2020. Really appreciate the way you use concise language and choose your words carefully when explaining complicated subjects. I don't know if that's if that's sarcasm or not, but I'll take it. Could you have a look at AKT? Sure. No, it is actually really good to hear that because sometimes, you know, you read the comments on YouTube and you're like, holy shit, I must not be making myself be heard clear here because your interpretation of what the fuck I said is like nowhere near what the hell I'm saying. But I think there's kind of a silent majority that obviously get it. I mean, otherwise, why would you watch these videos if you don't fucking understand it? AKT, very interesting here compared to most of the charts. It is nowhere near its November lows where a lot of these shitcoins are. It is playing out a similar range, to be fair, but it's well above the range lows in a way that the other ones are not. Let's put this range low right here. I mean, it's right in the middle of the range, to be fair. I do think it could, you know, theoretically, it could come a little bit lower towards like 260 or so, something like this. Set up for another bounce, but sideways, this one looks a lot more primed to go sideways and just kind of grind it out and get another try to the upside. But yeah, I think you are going to be going sideways at best within this range for a while. I mean, when I say a while, I mean 3-4 months. Like this can take a long time. Looking at the monthly, yeah, it's in a better position than most things. But you have to ask yourself, like, okay, if Bitcoin were to break down, I'm not saying that it is, but if it were to break down, will this one not follow? Yeah, it will follow. But the big number to be aware of for this one to the downside, and I'd just generally be like optimistic about this one long term, is that as long as you're above about 194, 195, okay, fine. It's just a range. And likely does set it up for a real try to the upside, but that's going to come, I suspect, much later down the road. All right. Okay, let's see. We have Mr. AC next. He says, hey, Crown, love the content. AMZN, weekly, monthly. I think I've heard of this stock before. Amazon, huh? I haven't looked at it in a long time, though. And you are asking, does it have more upside in 2025? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty early to be calling something like the whole year down right at the beginning of the year, right? I mean, I think you're going to get another try to the upside in 2025, but, you know, does that mean that you can't come down to like $200 first? No. So I don't think it's going to go exactly from this moment to new highs in this year, but I do think it's very possible later in this year, you know, it could go for that. See what a quarterly looks like. Yeah. I think this thing probably opens up on a pullback and then tries again to the upside, maybe like second quarter, third quarter, something like that. So yeah, definitely possible. Definitely possible. Mo Alley says, can you check out Caspa on the daily? Been watching you since the 2018 bear lows. Fuck yeah, man. I recognize you as well, which is great. I recognize everyone who actually like commented from those times, who was a part of the Discord from those times. Shit, I mean, I pretty much remember most people anyways, if like you actively comment. Anyways, Caspa, okay. Kaz, I think, yeah, okay, this is it. God. Jesus, man. Okay, that is a quarterly, to be fair. All right. Month. Okay, this one is just in like a weird place. All right. Monthly. I do see something of interest here in that you're already seeing lower lows on monthly RSI, and price action is still on slightly higher lows than what you saw from January of 2024 and May of 2024. So you do have the potential for hidden bullish divergence here, but that maybe is not the time frame that you're looking for. Or you didn't. Oh yeah. Okay. Daily. All right. Let's go down to a daily. Again, like most things today, I think you're setting up for another bounce off of this region. I don't think that you're going to take out these November lows without having another bounce first. And this thing could easily bounce up to like 14 cents, maybe even 15 cents. The bullish view is that you're going to continue in the sideways range. Okay, let me just do it for this. You're going to continue in the sideways range, let's say, between like 19 cents to the upside versus nearly 10 cents to the downside. Yeah, about 10 cents to the downside. I think the bullish view is that you're going to, continue the sideways dance. Next move, probably bounce, probably pulls back, probably does another bounce, maybe something like this. But of course, if this next bounce puts in a lower high, which it very likely will, and then comes down below December lows, I mean, that's going to be your breakdown indication, and you're going to be headed below 10 cents for the foreseeable future. If that were to happen, I would suspect. Wig Splitter says, Lord Crown, XRP BTC hit a nice breakout today of its 30-day bull flag. Can we get some analyzing on that chart? I'm not sure. Not sure it's broken out, but let's check it out. I don't actually know because I don't really look at this chart. So I'm guessing okay. Yeah. So this is my problem with flags. Like anything that has a diagonal trend line is just highly subjective. So you're looking at something like this. Yes, it broke out right here. I see these things come down all the time, but this one, no, I actually do think it is going to continue to the upside, to be fair. Maybe it pulls back down to like 2,600 first, but as long as it's above 2,400, I'd be treating this as bullish and likely to continue upwards and onwards. Now, when I look at the weekly, I mean, I'm not it's definitely struggled at this around this region that it's currently at for a long time. So you do have a big boss right here, somewhere around let's just call it 3,000 Satoshis. Above 3,000 Satoshis, this thing can actually run quite a bit, maybe even 5,000 after that. Obviously, it would take time, but yeah. Again, relative strength, especially XRP versus the dollar. Anyways. Cookie Monster says, Bonjour, Monsieur Eric. How do you take profits, especially on tokens that do not have former history? I mean, that's the issue with them, and that's why I don't do it. You can use fib extensions that, as you're speculating right here, but it's just a very basic guideline of areas of interest. It's not like it's not gonna get it to the T for you. The best way to do it is to wait for an actual reversal. That's just my opinion. If you're going to be trading these things for the long time, like you are trading the trend, so it makes most sense to me to wait until that trend ends, which again means you're not going to exit at the actual high. You're going to exit much below there, but you'll get out before the big down. Yeah. Jesus Christ, man, this is quite robust. Do you buy lower, more, or you put it where? Sir. Yes, I think that a lot of this is just personal stuff, which is probably not too relevant. I'm trying to look for something that's obvious here. Waiting with your USD. I mean, I would like to have some dry powder for the bear market, but as far as altcoins, I don't trade alts with no history to begin with. That's like the issue. That's like the issue here. That's not my game. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Ocean Seed Farm says, hey man, super grateful for your time. All good, sir. You've created a awesome, man. Also, I'm gay. I'm gay as well, sir, for TA. Could you please check Super Daily or Pendle Daily? Let's check out Super. I'm interested in, just for Elliot's sake. Where is it here? I know I have it on my list somewhere. I like to check in on it. There she is, or he is, who knows? You know, I do think that it has hit an important swing high here on the weekly. Yes, I do think it comes down a little bit closer to $1, but if this thing is going to be legit and not topped out for the cycle, I want to see a big fucking bounce at $1. Yes, somewhere between 90 cents to $1 if that happens. Your uptrend is still intact. I mean, obviously your uptrend is intact for a long time here, but obviously you don't want to fucking wait until this thing comes down below your August lows to dump. But if I'm just going off the daily, like most things in the short term, I think you're getting ready for another bounce here. I think this thing can easily bounce to 145, 150-ish region, but as long as you're especially below the last lower high, it's hard to love in the short term. So, it could easily look like something like this, where boom, comes up and then down, and then plays out that move towards $1, and then perhaps tries an upside move from there. But very critical for it to reclaim this last lower high before you see me say, hey, this thing is ready. Again, really had its chance like back here last quarter of 2024 and ended the year in such like a I mean, it's like it couldn't have ended the year in like a worse place. Just massive fucking rejection, already traded below the low of that. Like, that bothers me. But anyways, moving on. We'll see what Elliot does. I know that he is the man when it comes to that sort of thing, so wouldn't bet against him. Anyways, VC is back. He's looking at OPAI daily and weekly. Okay, OPAI. Let's see what time it is. All right, we are getting a little bit too late in this, so I think this is the last one. You have an accumulation range going on down here, but breaking back into the accumulation range is not ever a good sign, which it's on the verge of doing. If you see this thing come down, let's call it below whatever this ungodly number is here and close below there, I think this thing is done for the foreseeable future. But until then, when I look at the weekly, it's like, okay, it's in a liquid shitcoin, probably doesn't trade all that much. So you kind of have to give it a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but this area could easily be a higher low, but we just don't want to see below, again, like 850, whatever the hell that means. Until then, I mean, I guess you can still run with it, but I would be highly skeptical of this. That's just my personal take. Anyways, I think we're gonna have to end there. There's a lot more here on Discord. I apologize if I didn't get to you, but there's just too much in too little time, sirs and sirs. Yeah. All right. We'll end things right there. As always, want to wish you the best. I've already posted the new weekly Q&A, so if you want to join on in, you can find a link in the description below. And again, it's just the last day of our nice little beginning of year sales for all of the New Year's resolutioners. Code is 2025, and we'll end it on that note. As always, wishing you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Monday.